Welcome back to our town centre garden. It's nearing the end of July. The temperature has been comfortable, reaching the mid-20s, but a lack of rain is causing the area to dry up. I have a couple of buckets ready to catch rainwater, and they have been empty for over a month. I have to run my tap a long time to get the hot water coming out. I save it and use it for my plants. It's important to have a water supply available for the birds and other creatures during these drier times. I change their water frequently. The dried up leaves are collecting on the ground as the environment begins to look like a premature autumn. All the creatures of Earth can smell water. It's a life-saving skill. Some have better noses than others and can smell it from great distances away. Our jackdaw friend has arrived. I have not been certain that we have been seeing the same bird or a pair that takes turns coming to the feeder. It displays the same caution we observed before. The loud magpie babies haven't noticed the jackdaw, or there would be a fuss. Their squeaks do alarm the large bird at times. There are a lot of different tones making up their black colour. There is a dark turquoise on the wingtips. I can also see dark grey-blue. There are warmer tones of brown on the back. I think this may be a young adult bird. When they scratch like that, we can see how incredibly flexible they are. I think that I have found feathers from this species. I recognise the dark blue. Just like their cousins, the magpies, they have iridescent feathers, although it is more subtle and less glossy. Those magpies are scary. I read that the juveniles will lack the grey hood and are born with blue-grey eyes. Their irises change to brown in the first winter, and white once they gain their adult plumage. Human babies are born with blue eyes, and the colour develops as they age. It's nice to find connections between species. The jackdaw listens intently as it snatches bites from the bowl. It occasionally cracks a seed shell, but swallows most items whole. The sound of the chattering magpie really gets to the large dark bird. I try to track its trajectory. I'm glad that I did. It led me to this. 2 jackdaws. Wow. I'm breathless. The one on the right still has the seed from my feeder. The one on the left is panting. My theories about there being a pair may be correct. Are they a breeding couple? They could be parent and large child. Or maybe they are young siblings? As the magpies begin a loud cackling campaign, the jackdaws decide to leave. We can hear the baby pigeons. You may remember that they are not as small as they sound. The magpie squeaks have stopped. That doesn't mean they have left the area though. They might be snoozing nearby. R2-D2 is sitting still in the tree. It's good to see him. His chest is moving as he is also panting a little bit. That wood pigeon call is coming from the pigeon nest below and right from R2-D2. The penguin-faced bluetit is nibbling buddleia seeds. Suddenly, Ollie the wood pigeon bursts into the scene, chasing another pigeon we shall name Penelope. Ollie is panting. I wonder how long he's been chasing Penelope. R2-D2 is so impressed. It's too hot for these shenanigans. Ollie grabs a quick snack. Penelope is on the wall. Ollie does some freaky flying to try and ward off the enemy. He's panting so hard, I want him to drink. The heat and activity is wearing down both the birds. Penelope tosses her head back. I wonder if she took a drink from her crop or some food? I think Ollie is still nearby as Penelope tries to eat. Penelope attacks. Let's call him Fred. Fred leaves. Penelope looks worn out. Instead of eating, she suddenly leaves. And this is why the jackdaw is making the most of the free food today. When I remember my previous recordings of the jackdaws, I'm thinking that they are both different sizes to one another. I feel like this bird is the smaller of the two. I shall nickname them Bonnie and Clyde, and I shall dub this smaller jackdaw Bonnie. I assume that since it is the summer and most birds are actively breeding at this time, that Bonnie and Clyde are nesting and gathering food for their babies. Just like all the other birds, the jackdaws have a carrier bag in their neck area known as a crop. Bonnie nimbly slips food into her crop. I love how nature just throws up a flesh bag for carrying things when there are no hands and arms in the design. What birds can do with their bills is amazing. They are so precise with their beaks, plucking and poking, preening and stroking, cracking seeds and small bones and snapping at others. The beak is an expressive tool. To think it is made of the same stuff as our fingernails, keratin. Tough and shiny. There is a bone inside the beak. You may have seen this in bird skulls. The keratin coats the bone and is more flexible than the hard interior. Birds clean their beaks often, as we have seen many times. Is Bonnie flying towards her nest? Dave is looking a bit square. We can hear his babies calling from the tree. His wife Dimples is probably feeding the babies right now while he takes time out for a nap. I didn't know wood pigeons could fold themselves up that much. Bonnie returns. She is very busy here today. I wonder how big her nestlings are. She flies over to the water bowl. She's going for a drink. She's so large, she can just bend her neck down to gather some liquid. Interestingly, most birds do not feed water or other liquids to their young. The nestlings will get their water from the food brought to them. This is why we see so many juicy foods being gathered for them. Worms and ripe berries are both full of water. We see them gathered all of the time. The blue tits often chatter when they arrive. I assume this is to announce their presence to others of their kind. I think birds also do this as a way of letting each other know their location too. They meet up and fly off together often, so chatting to know where your group is makes sense. A blackbird periodically shouts its ground predator alarm. All other birds will heed this warning and keep an eye out. The blackbird is at a distance, so the starling cannot yet see danger and may be safe. The fledgling wood pigeons are squeaking again from their cosy nest. Here is a photo of the tree so you can see its size. The tree is probably 25 feet tall. The magpies were nesting near the top of the tree. The wood pigeons are now in the central part somewhere. The blackbirds Jerry and Elsa had a nest just a little lower than the pigeons. A young robin with a brand new tail is hopping around this part of the tree doing alarm calls very often, so I think he may be nesting here too. That's just what I've recorded. There may be other birds nesting in there, maybe even the dunnocks. A pile of pigeons peacefully peruse the pleasant buffet. Is it weird that they are not fighting? Not when they are surrounded. The dove is readying itself for some action. The pigeons chow down mechanically, trying to collect as much food as possible before someone starts on them. The pressure gets too great. The dove moves in. It's like 3D chess as the birds take up new positions. My recording was interrupted, and when I came back, as we can see, the doves have taken over. The starling is in their way. I don't usually see the doves being this pushy. Which of the two lower doves will accept the one left out? They may be a breeding pair. An unusually brown dove arrives. I have seen a dark dove before. You can spot their differences as they have a very white outline to their eyes, as well as a darker tint to their feathers. The brown dove I recorded years back was much darker. The new brown dove is on the right. Look for the white outline around its eye. There is a reason for the darker tone. There is a little more melanin, which makes up the black pigments present in the bird's feathers. If the dove had more melanin pigment in its feathers, its appearance could be a darker shade of brown or black. I am not used to seeing the doves pushing each other around like this. Daisy the Dunnock has a beakful and is busy with something. Her baby is now a fledgling and is following her for food. As with the other fledglings we have seen, the little bird waggles its shoulders and squeaks to signal a need for food. These Dunnocks are definitely nesting nearby. I'm not sure where. A pretty comma butterfly is visiting us. I've never recorded one before. A bee would like to share the nectar, but the comma is not interested in sharing. It's got a fabulous frilly shape along the edge of its wings. The starling isn't as excited as me about the butterfly. I am not sure what it's doing with that leaf. One of the pigeon parents is calling from the tree. This sound sets off the fledglings in their nest. The tree wobbles often these days, so I train my camera on the sounds in the hope that I will capture them emerging. That's not a pigeon. The brown dove is in their tree. The bright white line around its eyes is easy to see. As it preens, we can see that its body language is a little erratic. This makes me think it's a juvenile. It plucks a loose chest feather. They are short and fluffy to keep the bird warm. It stays in the tree for some time. Meanwhile, battling pigeons are taking over the garden again. I do my best to capture their crazy moves. These birds, they really tire me out. One of them may be a pigeon parent, Dimples or Dave. The fledglings in their nest start their squeaking again. The fledgling dunnock is looking for its parents. I was just reading a bit about them, and I learned that it is possible other adult dunnocks might participate in feeding the young. Sometimes the female has more than one male partner to try and get them all to aid her in their upbringing. Dimples eventually emerges from her nest. She is hard to spot. She goes out for a bit. The fledgling wood pigeons are probably snoozing now while the starlings bicker over the luxury baths. In a rare peaceful moment, this male sparrow enjoys his meal. A young starling lands nearby, and the little sparrow watches it carefully while he continues munching. The starling is examining the floor looking for mealworms. The sparrow is really feeling the presence of the starling and keeps a close eye on it. This is definitely collared dove day. I haven't seen this many in ages. The way that these doves are behaving makes me think they are all young and inexperienced. They also look a bit scruffy. This dove's tail end looks a bit darker than usual. The skittish young doves go back and forth while they can. This dove does not seem sure of itself or this environment. It doesn't feel safe here, so it leaves. I like it when they stretch up like this. They can be quite tall birds. We can see how very long their legs are. The dove is being pushy about the food. It has a tail feather that has been twisted onto its side. That feather will be coming out at some point. Another dove appears ready to claim its food rights. The wood pigeon is not sure about this little bird. Did the dove just win that freaky moves match? Oh yeah, the pigeon retreated. This is the day of the dove. But wait, the starlings think they can take you on, Tyson. Yes, I just named the dove Tyson for this video. Tyson is puffing up his neck to appear big and scary. The starlings aren't taking much notice. Tyson is feeling the pressure from some wood pigeons on the fence to the left, and it's making him jumpy. He circles the bowl to show his agitation while keeping his neck inflated. Ollie arrives and takes over a food bowl. Tyson is reluctant to give up too easily. The second pigeon, who might be Dave from the tree, takes the other bowl. Dave and Tyson eye each other suspiciously. The dove is puffed up and ready for a fight, and Dave knows it. Suddenly another pigeon arrives. Dave is not happy. He quickly retakes the food bowl, then suddenly Tyson lands on Dave, who shrugs him off effortlessly. Dave looks around slowly. He suddenly jumps on Ollie. This sneak attack was one that no one saw coming. He makes sure Ollie leaves, then again quickly retakes a food bowl. Tyson rapidly takes the top bowl before anything else happens. A starling lands above Tyson. It makes deliberate close passes over the dove to try and freak him out. It whacks Tyson with its wing and takes the bowl. While the sparrow and the starlings duke it out, Tyson is waiting on the fence. He slams the starling out of the way. The sparrow tries to snatch a bite, but Tyson is not playing with anyone. The starling boldly stands up to Tyson, who has to again retreat. The starling is fierce and won't let the dove near the bowl. Tyson bravely lands next to the starling and shows him who is boss. The starling saw Tyson and thought he was skittish like the other doves, but he amped up his stubbornness and toughness and won the day. At the final moment, it's a human sound that stops all the activity in the feeding station. Towards the end of the day, some starlings take a tour of the gardens. Squeals and wing beats start dominating the space. One by one, the starlings seem to pour down from the tree. Just when I think that's a lot of starlings, then more arrive. Tyson the collared dove is not feeling tough enough for this brutish clan of starlings. Young ones clamour over the coconuts as more and more birds arrive. Young ones clamber over the coconuts as more and more birds arrive. We can see that most of the birds here are juveniles from their silky brown feathers. It is nice to see that the numbers of this group have increased so much this summer. We have seen a lot of humidity and an increase in certain insects and invertebrates, so I imagine the birds have eaten well this year. I have noticed that there is a kind of swear word that birds use when they all suddenly leave like that. I would suggest it was a word beginning with S. I used this very word while in a bus crash decades ago. In fact, both my friend and I were on the top deck of the bus at the front when we hit a car. Just before we hit it, we both yelled the S word very loudly. Later, other passengers said they heard us and instinctively braced themselves, which probably saved them from serious injury. If I heard another language expressing this same emotion, I would instinctively react, I'm sure. So this is a word or emotion we can definitely identify with in other creatures. Isn't that interesting? There is actually one language for all creatures on Earth. The young starling is cautiously waiting in the tree. Other starlings gather on distant TV aerials. All the birds look like they would like to move, but something is making them wait. A familiar squawk fills our ears. I can't see them, but I can certainly hear them. Everyone is looking around trying to spot the noisy magpie family. The starlings are keeping quiet as they assess the threat level. There's one. Another one emerges from the tree. It has a large white mark on its head. What is that? I don't know what was going on with that magpie's head feathers. It looked a bit like bird poo. I'm not sure what I was seeing. It has been a busy couple of days filming the jackdaw, the battling doves and the huge group of starlings. I'm worn out. Let's just watch the clouds growing over my garden for a bit while I take a nap. Until next time, goodbye.